during ages 4 to 6? What are the milestones that your children need to have checked at age 4 to 6? It's imperative that you find out these milestones because it will help you to track your children's growth and development. I often say that we kind of overlook the development of our children during their growth period. The fact that a child is growing does not mean they are developing. They can grow in age, they can grow by height, they can grow by weight, but they might not be developing the different milestones that they need, like their social and emotional milestones, their cognitive milestones, their language and communication, their movement and physical development milestones. All these are things that, as a parent, you need to ensure that you are tracking. So let's move quickly through, for example, what your child needs to be able to do at age 4 to 6. So in their social emotional development, your child should at least know how to pretend to be something else. And so this age, you'd see that the child is pretending to be mommy, or the child is pretending to be a dog, or pretending to be their teacher. Also, they tend to ask a lot of questions. So they will ask you if they can go outside to play. They will ask you if they can play with a pet, or they can jump on the bed, something like that. They'll also be able to emotionally comfort others, including you, when you're hurt or sad. So they tend to give a lot of hugs and patting at the back. They're literally looking at how you comfort them during their hurtful and sad moments and try to mimic those examples. Also, they will typically learn how to avoid danger because from age 0 to 3, they must have had certain accidents that have taught them that, okay, when I jump too high, I can fall and break a leg or break my head. And so at ages 4 to 6, they're a bit more concerned about their safety. And so if your child is not really happy to jump on the trampoline, it's something that is very typical at that age. Let's look at what they should be able to do in terms of their language and communication. If you have a 4 to 6 year old who is not able to pick up language or communicate with you or others, then you need to be concerned because at this stage they need to have had about 1,000 to 2,000 words minimum, and it comes from interactions with people in their households, in their families, at the peer-to-peer level. So in school, they need to be able to say, stop, give it to me, I'm hungry, I need water. And so if you're seeing any speech delays, then you need to find a therapist to help you deal with that. Also, they will be able to answer simple questions about, like, where is your crayon, who gave this to you, all of those things. And so if your child is unable to do that and they are 4 to 6 year olds, then you need to be concerned. I'll give you tips and strategies to ensure that those things are catered to. What about their cognitive milestones? So your cognitive milestones as a child is how your child is able to learn to think critically, to problem solve, to navigate through play. How are they with their teachers? How are they with other people? So social communication and how they are navigating through that is what their cognitive milestones are. So they need to be at that point in time able to name a few colors of items. So if you show them the picture of a duck, for example, they should either say the duck is white or yellow. If you show them a picture of a pig, they should understand, if you have taught them or they've learned in school, that a pig is pink in color. Also, if you're reading a story with a child, they need to be able to tell you what comes next in the story. Or if they look at the pictures, they should be able to tell you what is in the picture and what they think about it. Can they draw a person? This is something you need to also see. If you give them puzzles, Legos, are they able to do it? If you see that they are setting developmental delays with these things I have mentioned, then you need to speak to somebody about how to make sure that your child is catching up. Now, in terms of movement and physical development, this is something that most children at age don't really have issues with because they love to play and so they move a lot. But little things like, are they able to kick a ball, catch a ball, serve themselves food, or eat with a fork or a spoon or their hands? Are they able to pour water with adult supervision, of course, or independently? Are they able to zip and unbutton their shirts and their dresses? Do they try to do lacing of their shoes? Do they try to put their shoes on, etc., etc.? So these things that I mentioned, if you are not tracking these milestones, before you know it, your child is 6 years old and they are unable to do some of these important things that they should have done. And sometimes I feel like we assume that it's magical that the children will be able to do some of these things, but it's not magical. It's something that we intentionally have to help them to do what they need to be able to do. So I have a few questions for you, just to tease out a little bit whether or not you are the compass for your child who is age 4 to 6. So as a parent, how do you serve as the compass for your children during these years? Like I said to you before, at this stage, a lot of parents want to tell their children what to do, but the most important thing you need to check to do yourself is to be a good example. If you want your child to do certain things, you should do those things yourself, and they will just have to look at you. They learn a lot through observation, and through the observation they will be able to do what you require them to do. Some of the practical ways that parents can guide their children in understanding rules and consequences. If you say to your child that you are going to do something, your word needs to be your bond. If they see that you're a parent who shifts post, and one time you say you do this and you don't do it, they tend not to trust your authority. And so you become that parent that is always fighting with them, that is always screaming and yelling at them instead of instructing them. And so at this stage, you try as much as possible to be, like I said before, a compass by being a good example. If you tell me you're going to do this for me, if I do that, make sure that you heed to your word. Now, teachers and caregivers, how can we assist children at this stage to become fully developed as they should? So in school, at ages 4 to 6, I don't really want to see too many adults assisting children. It's their time to explore. It's the time to make all the mistakes that they should make. It's not the time to baby them. Those days are gone. Remember, we spoke about 0 to 3. Those days are gone. At this stage, they think they are mini adults. That's why they want to help you wash your clothes. They are trying to push you through the kitchen to do certain adult stuff. And you need to give them opportunities to explore, give them opportunities to do what they want to do without you necessarily being in their way. Because if you stop them at those explorative years, it becomes extra to do when they now turn ages 7 to 9, which we'll talk about next week. So give them a lot of independence to explore. If they make mistakes, be there to let them know what they could have done better and how to make sure that next time it doesn't happen again. If you're teaching them to pour water in their bottles or their cups and there's a spill, don't be too critical of them, because doing that just makes them become self-critical. And so every time they look at water or even try to pour, they remember that time that you screamed at them and they don't want to do it again. So in the school environment, in the home environment, encourage a lot of independence, and encourage a lot of innovation, encourage a lot of critical thinking and self-actualization. It will help the child to truly navigate those years effectively. Now, if you just join in, this is Family First with me, Precious Bonsu. I'm founder and leader of the WIT School. The WIT School is a Christian school modeled after the Finland education model, which encourages holistic education and excellent character development. So, I was giving you tips on what to do with your 4 to 6 year olds to get them to be fully independent and do what they want to do. Number one tip that I will give you is to push a lot of independence. Don't be a parent that is acting like a hero all the time. You need to give them access to do things that they want to do sometimes while you become their compass, while you guide them in the way that they should go. And so it will be very detrimental to them if they think that every time you'll be there to save them. Because once you let them have that kind of ideology, it's very difficult to now want to have a self-sufficient and highly independent child. And that's what we're aiming at. And this window of their age group, 4 to 6, is where they learn all those values. Am I a person that is trusted to do the right thing, or my parents are hand holding me all the time? A 4 to 6 year old is not a baby, they are young children. And so give them access to do so many things that you don't think they are capable of doing. At least let them try. It's very important that we do that for them. It's good for their cognitive development, it's good for their physical development, it's good for their social and emotional development, and more importantly, it's good for their social communication. So at this stage, if you have screen time, you can limit it to about 1 to 2 hours per week, or if you want to make it a daily thing, that's fine. But make sure that whatever they are watching is educational, it's informative, and it gives them a reason to ask questions. And so if the program gets the child to ask you, why is the dinosaur so big? Why is the egg oval? Or why is the car going backward? That is a good show for the child, because then it gives you the opportunity to talk to them, to interact with them. So I recommend a lot of co-viewing if you want to incorporate screen time into your child's life. Don't let it be a passive viewing session for your child where they're there for 4 hours and nobody is checking on the kid and they are just watching away. It is not great. So here there's a question from a viewer. Annabelle, you want to take that?
Yes.
Okay, what's the question?
So, Mr. Gideon is asking, I think after the point you gave, he's asking, how do you encourage innovation and critical thinking in the child?
Okay, so that's a very good question, and I'll answer that. Innovation is new ways of doing things. So, for example, if the way to close a window is to draw the curtain or draw the blind, for a child, an innovative point of view would be, okay, because I am short, I need to figure out first how to reach the height of the curtain. And so what are the tools that I need to increase my height at this point? I probably need a table, a chair, just to, catapult myself to the height of the curtain. But if you are there as an adult and you see them trying to close the window, close the door, and they can't reach the handle, and you are quick to either do it for them or lift them up, there they become completely blank. But if you leave that child, they'll be able to, for example, jump on a table, reach the door handle, and open it themselves. So, a good way to encourage innovation and critical thinking is to allow children, give them time. You know, don't be too quick to jump in to help. You're being a good parent, I understand. But a better parent is one who allows their children to try and try again and fail and find out all kinds of ways and means to do the same thing until they crack the code. Everything that you and I know how to do, we had to try. Somebody gave us the opportunity to try. And so that's, to answer his question, that's how to push innovation and critical thinking in children. And I feel that in this generation, we are so quick to save children, so to speak. We don't allow them to make mistakes because we are scared. Oh, when they climb the table, she's going to fall. Yeah, if they fall, they will be okay. Nobody ever fell. And, you know, unless it's a very, just be there. That's why I'm saying that be there to see how they are thinking through. If they can't, you know, if they are struggling to climb, you can push the table a little bit. But just so that the day you are not there and there's fire on the mountain, they can climb out of the window and be safe. It's very important. I mean, one of the best movies I think all parents should let their children watch is Home Alone. How that kid was able to survive those criminals is something that was so intriguing for me, even as a kid. So I'm always thinking that, how do I, you know, create an atmosphere for children to learn how to do things by themselves and think with their brains. Their brains are there for a reason, and it's to think. And while I was talking, something came to mind that children at that age, all of them need to know their mother's or father's phone numbers. It's so important. I taught my goddaughter my phone number when she was 4. It's just digits. 020. You keep saying it repetitively. If they can learn all the jingles on radio and TV, trust me, they can learn your phone number. And so some of these things are ways to push critical thinking. Like, how do I navigate my life in the sense that I don't always need somebody to help me? You know, there was an incident that happened at the WIT school with a 1.5-year-old boy who was trying to get into a trampoline. So his friends were taller than him, so they were able to quickly jump in. So there were, including myself, we were about 4 or 5 adults on the playground. And typical of the WIT school, because critical thinking and problem solving is like a pillar in what we do, we looked at him to see what he would do. We just saw him grab a little horse, like a toy horse, on the playground to the tip of the trampoline. So he put one leg on the sandbag, and then put another leg on the horse, and then tried to move. Still, it wasn't working. He got down, moved the horse to the other side of it, and then it worked. You should see the jubilation of when he got into the trampoline, like, yes, I made it, right? He didn't have words to say, but even the adults there were clapping for, were so happy for him. And imagine this kid now becoming a 4-year-old. Do you think they'll wait for you to come home before they take an apple from the fridge to eat? No, he will figure out how to reach the fridge, open it by observation, and grab it. And his mother attests to those things that he does. And so in our quest to be very good parents is a very good thing, but I think that we have become overly, what's the word to use? We handhold our children too much. And so you can see even a 7-year-old, and they can't wash their plates, they can't eat by themselves. I mean, it's not something we should encourage at all. It's not something we should encourage. And as a parent, always remember that you are the vessel through which your children came, but your child is a gift to the world. And so you will not always be there. That's why God made it a generational thing. We will leave one day and they will come and become like us. Are we giving them the opportunity to become independent, the opportunity to think for themselves, the opportunity to become innovative and solve problems? If we are not doing all of that, then we're not doing a good job as parents and caregivers. So that's my long and short answer to that. Any more comments coming in? Okay, so I have a question for parents out there and caregivers. So let's backtrack from how do you parent a 4 to 6 year old? And the first strategy I gave was to give them a lot of independence to do what they're doing, and also to push them to think for themselves and to problem solve. I hear there's a question.
Okay, so Kafui from East Legon is asking, do you have any leads for the specialist you mentioned earlier? If my child is not exhibiting some of the traits you mentioned.
Okay, so some of the traits, so if they could be specific, that would be great. But I don't know
I
that
think not speaking, if they can.
speech delay.
Yeah, speech delay. Speech delay.
Okay, okay. So there are therapists that I can recommend. If you can just get into our inbox, we can share it with you. But I know about 4 of them that you can contact. However, a lot of the things that if you were able to do by yourself at home could really help the child. Unless the kid is autistic or have any special need, most of these things are environmental, meaning if God made your child to speak and you didn't create the environment for your child to communicate with you. So I say that children 0 to 2, absolutely try not to do any screen time at all if you can, because once you do that, their brain thinks that human beings are not there for me to talk to, and that screens which cannot talk back to me is what I am supposed to interact with. And so when they are now older and you magically want them to talk, it just doesn't happen. A child that is in an environment where there's a lot of talking going on, a lot of communication, observes and become like one of them. I often say that it's now that we're living in apartments and our little houses that children are now becoming increasingly delayed in speech, because we have iPads, we have phones, we have TV.
Yes.
We have so many things that we're trying to make them the nannies for those children.
Yes.
And so there's no human interaction. And
True.
it's not magic that somebody will wake up and start talking. The skill of speech is in you, but the language that you need to communicate with, that one you need to pick from your environment. So that's why a child whose house they speak Ga, Tree, English, Spanish, Chinese can pick up all those 5 languages before they are 3. But if nobody is talking to them, they become mute. And there's this phenomenon called selective mutism, where a child decides that I will not talk.
Okay.
And we can go on and on and on, but as usual, our time is never enough on Family First. And I hope to come your way again next week, Sunday. I will be here to share more on what you can do for your 7 to 9 year olds. My name is Precious Bonsu Kodo. You can call me the Global Teacher and follow me on all social media platforms. Until same time, I wish you God's best and have a wonderful Saturday, Sunday afternoon. Goodbye.